Our next project will be working with stiff slabs of clay to create a vase or a tall box. And we start this project by working on our designs. And it's really fun to use cut paper to come up with designs. I like to create symmetrical designs by taking a sheet of newspaper and folding it in half. What I'll do is I'll save the folded side here and cut on the other side. So what I might be doing is cutting out a curvy form like this. And then when I unfold it, I'll see what kind of shape I get. As you can see on the table here, I have many variations of the same idea. What I will ask you to do is to make at least 10 paper cutouts of designs, just to explore the full range of possibilities that can be built with this method of slab building. And pick a favorite. And then we'll do some variations on that. I'll pick this one. And what I'm going to do is fold this. I look at this design and I think, well, I like the proportions here. I like the way this part of the form relates to the foot, but I'd like the neck to be taller. So I'm going to fold that back in half again, wrap it around my paper, and again, just use my marker to mark off the parts that I like. And then I might just extend that. Think about how I might extend that. Okay, so now I have here my original design that I liked and the new and improved design that I think I like even more. But I might again continue to look at it and think, is there anything else that I might change to this? So I'm going to cut out maybe a little bit more. Maybe this needs a little notch in the top. We'll see how that looks. And I like how that draws a little more attention to that top edge. Maybe to go with that, it needs some feet at the bottom. To cut it out like that, so that then this will stand up on feet. And I'm not sure if I like that better than the original one or not. I can always put that back. And visually, I get to see, before I've invested any time in the clay, I could see it in paper, whether I like that or not. I think I'll leave it without the feet, okay? Well, I have some clay that I rolled out yesterday, and I kept it on drywall, covered up with plastic. And now it's what we call leather hard. Perfect degree of dryness for this. I can bend it a little bit. What I will now do is to cut out two sides, which will essentially be the front and back, using this as a template. And where I decided not to have the foot on the bottom, I'll just use a ruler to cut a straight edge there. And again, I'm using my tip of my knife straight up and down. Very important in this forming technique to keep your knife pointing straight up in the air and to pull it through farther than you might need it to go otherwise. So I'll start in that corner. Follow the paper as a guide. I can't press against it, but I follow that as a guide. And again, cut a little farther than I might need to. From tight areas, cut out from the inside. All right, once we have both the front and the back slabs cut out, then we're ready to work on the sides, the edges that will fill in between the face and the back. And we want to decide like how thick this vase will be. And I have different thicknesses of cardboard cut out that might seem appropriate. So I think in this case, I will make my strips 2 inches. And this is clay that is exactly as stiff as the clay that I cut the face and the back out of. And I'm going to trace this piece of cardboard. I'm going to follow this line. Again, cutting straight up and down, just like I did when I was cutting out the newspaper patterns. Now, I want to bring this close to where I can work on it. And to start with, I'm going to cut the edge square. Okay? Then what I'll be doing is to construct the sides with the vase basically laying down on its face. Okay? and I'll build it up from here. It's much easier to cut a strip like this when it's laying down. So what I'll do is I'll just mark that where it needs to get cut. Then I'll lay it down. And I want to cut it at a 90-degree angle. I want to make sure I'm not cutting it at some off angle. And again, cut straight down. So that will be the bottom of my vase when this is standing up. Right? Now I can take another piece of my edge, and I'm going to have it fill in that curve right there. Now you notice that this edge doesn't line up so well right here, and that there's a little extra clay there. We'll take care of that later. But what I do visually is I follow this line and draw that same line on that piece of clay that'll be the edge. So I know that I can trim that, and it will then match the piece of clay that I'll eventually be attaching that to. What I do is first get all of these pieces cut out, and then I'll go in and attach them. Now again, I'll mark it. I don't want to cut it right here. I want to leave a little extra clay for an overlap for the next piece. So I'll mark it about there, and that's what I'll cut. Again, laying it down so I don't cut at that weird angle that I just drew. I'll cut it more at a 90 degrees. So I have my next piece ready to be put on. Okay, so I'm getting the finishing details together here, and then I'll start scoring and putting this all together. Okay, so I have all the parts cut first. It looks like that. And then I'll start scoring systematically all of these parts. And I like to just lay them out where they came from. And I'll start usually with the bottom. So I want to score here, here, as well as the sides where the next piece will connect. Very important. Because this clay is a little bit stiffer, it's also very important to use plenty of slip to stick it together. And then you really want to push down firmly to make sure that will never come off. A good test is if you can lift it up by that. Okay, so I've already scored the top of what will be the bottom. So I need to score the adjoining piece, the bottom, and where that next piece will connect. So this is a good exercise in thinking three-dimensionally, thinking about where all the edges are that connect. Again, that pressure straight down and the pressure between the sides to push them together. Now I have that little extra clay hanging out. I'll take my knife and I'll kind of roughly trim that now. Later, when the vase is standing up, I'll go back and refine that. All right, once you have all of those edges attached, there's often some adjusting to be done. So take your original pattern and set it on top. And usually you can see if any of the walls need to be angled in or out or adjusted a little bit before we get to attaching the face. Okay? What I will also do is take some soft clay and fill in as many corners as I can. So I have some fresh soft clay out of the bag, and even though the clay that I'm working with is leather hard, I will use this soft clay almost like caulking, like around a bathtub. Push that into the corner and smooth it in. It's also a good idea on sharp corners like this one to fill that in a little bit as well and really smooth that clay in. If my edges were too soft, while I did this, I would distort them and push them out. So make sure the clay is just the right consistency. Okay, there might be a few corners that you want to push the soft clay in, the caulking as I refer to it, that might need a tool to reach where your finger has difficulty. So this can reach in corners where your finger cannot. So set this on here first, and again, make sure that it lines up. If you have an area like right here that might need a little adjusting, the clay is soft enough that I can just adjust that enough. I might be able to pull that out a little bit. There's always a little bit of adjusting to do. Now I'm ready to score this entire side and score all around the edges of our face, and also slip this up well. And I'll lay that where it goes. And first thing I'll do is get that all lined up. I want to make sure the bottom lines up well, these edges symmetrical. And once I'm sure it's pretty well lined up, then I very systematically go around and push very firmly straight down. I won't be able to reach into these bottom portions and put that caulking clay into that corner, so I really want to make sure that this is very firmly attached. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, we get to stand this up the way it will ultimately sit. So the clay is stiff enough, we can lift that and stand that, and we get to see our piece in 3 dimensions now.